If I asked you the question, who are you? What would your answer be? Well, if you asked me that question, my answer would be situational. If I was accompanying my wife to a party that she had been invited to, I would likely say I am her husband. If I was at a work meeting, such as I am this week at this beautiful location, I would likely answer, I am the CEO of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. But if I ask myself the question, who am I? Well, now that's a very different answer, because there can only be one answer to it, and that is my self-identity. It's very important to get your self-identity right because it is closely linked with emotional, psychological, and even physical health. It is closely linked to what you believe about yourself and what you can do. Most people are tempted to define themselves in terms of their jobs. And that's a very unsafe thing to do because the job can come to an end at any time for a variety of reasons. Your job is something that you fulfill. It is not who you are. Psalm 100 verse 3 tells us who you really are. Listen to this. Know that the Lord is God. It is He who made us and we are His. We are His people, the sheep of His pasture. The word know in the Greek is in the imperative. That means it is a command. You know, it's not just saying, hey, here's an interesting fact, know this. It's not even saying, this is important, and memorize it. It's saying, it's like David has grabbed you by the lapels, and he's shaking you as he says, man, you gotta know this, you gotta drive this deep into your soul. It's gotta define who you are. It's gotta be something that is your very, very core being. We need to know that God made us, and that because of that, I am His, and you are His. It also means that you are valuable for whose you are and not for what you do. Think of the prodigal son. He came back to his father. He had squandered everything. He had nothing. He had done nothing to show that he was worth anything. In fact, he'd done the opposite. And yet his father welcomed him back, gave him a feast, not because of what he had done, but because of whose he was. He was his father's son. And we also see Jesus being commended by his Father. When? Well, when was the first time? Was it when he ascended into heaven in his glory? Was it when he was suffering on the cross? Was it when he was doing his miracles? No, the very first time was at his baptism before he had done anything in ministry. Jesus was valuable to his Father and pleased his Father for who he was. So when it comes to thinking of our ministry roles, I think it's important not to think of them as jobs, but as a vocation, as a calling. We are faithfully going where Jesus has called us. And if it's called to leadership, then be the very best leader that we can be, but hold lightly to your role because it does not define who you are. Focus instead on Jesus, and your leadership will be godly and attractive to you, to the board, to the staff, and most importantly, to Jesus Himself, who called you into that role. You are valuable, not for what you do, not for the position you hold, but for whose you are. God bless.